time for all your binge-worthy pop culture news. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hi, guys. Welcome back and happy Friday. Guys, I'm so excited. We're finally getting into the weekend and the Bravo news has not stopped. Not only did we get the finale of this week's episode of Vanderpump Rules, which was the second finale, we have Caroline Manzo, who did Page Six's virtual reality podcast, Kim Zolciak and Kroy Bierman, of course you guys know, Randall Emmett, and so many other things. So I was like, who should I do this with? Now, yes, I know what you guys are wondering. Where's Jason? He was obviously like in there as far as like people that we could potentially collab with, but I was like, not today. I see Jason every single day. So instead, let's do Kim from Bravo Breaking News. So before we welcome her, guys, go ahead and smash that like button, show some love, and let's welcome Kim. Hello.
Thank you so much for having me, Adam. I am happy to step in for Jason whenever you need him.
Oh my gosh. No, you're not stepping in for Jason. You are the main event.
I'm happy to be here. There is so much to discuss. I mean, I don't even know. I just need to like get it off my chest.
Can I just say really quick, before we like get into all of this, can we just start, because you have a very, very successful Instagram, and I wanted to show everyone real quick. Let me bring it up. Like, you're doing the damn thing over here. So how did this start?
So I actually started the page right before the first ever BravoCon in 2019. You know, I followed like a handful of Bravo content creators, and I loved what they were doing. And I was like, you know what? I can do this. So I just started it just for fun. And, you know, of course, during the pandemic, we're all at home, we're watching TV, and I just kept on posting. And it's, you know, about 4 years later, and I'm just, you know, happy to have somewhere that I can, you know, share my love for Bravo with people who feel the same way.
Absolutely. And it keeps you pretty up to par on everything that's going on.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you have to be, you know, up there like every second checking, because there's always something new, and it's my duty to report it to the fans. I feel like, you know, I'm on the front lines.
I love this. I love that, Kim. Okay, so obviously we know that everyone who's watching right now, anything to do with Bravo, they all want to kick off with Vanderpump Rules, the scandal of it all. And we've had a lot of things going on with Scandival, including Tom and Ariana, and also Ariana being in New York right now with her new boyfriend and Sheena and Brock. Did you see the Watch What Happens Live interview?
Of course I saw it. I mean, the highest rated Watch What Happens Live in history. Is that what it was? A series high? I mean, iconic for Ariana.
Which is so wild to me. I think that in this moment, nobody really realized what this would have done. And she kind of explained, because he asked her, he's like, why do you think that this is so big? And she explained it in the sense that I feel like everyone looked at our relationship like there was an end game. There was longevity. They were invested. Like, we were kind of the ones who were always the solid foundation within the group. And then things went awry, right? Well, code for my boyfriend of 10 years slept with my best friend.
Exactly.
Wild. So no, please.
I mean, it's crazy. And it's crazy that she keeps having to explain the difference between this and like previous, you know, cheating or anything that's happened on the show before. Like, this is so much different. It's so much more wild, and Ariana deserves all of the attention that she is getting.
I mean, if you think about it, isn't it so crazy to break down Dancing with the Stars, White House Correspondents' Dinner, The View, like a Lifetime movie, Bloomingdale's, Uber Eats, like
New York Times.
New York Times. It's not stopping.
It's not stopping. I don't think it's going to anytime soon. And honestly, I know Scandival was really, really rough, and it probably is still rough for her. She's probably still kind of grieving the relationship, but it was like the best thing that could ever happen to her. She has, to kind of use a term that my co-host uses, Lisa, she has dropped 175 pounds of dead weight and is now free as a bird to do, you know, what she wants and shine her brightest, really. She doesn't have this like man child at her side, you know, stealing the spotlight.
Well, what do you think right now? Because we had Alex Baskin who came out, who is one of the producers of Vanderpump Rules. And he recently came out and said that we are putting the show not on like a hiatus, but we are pausing right now. We're not picking cameras up where we left off. The reason I want to pick your brain about this is because Jason and I did a Vanderpump Rules after party the other night. I believe it was Wednesday night. And when we did, we spoke about it a little bit. And he said, I don't want a break. Like, I think that they should pick up cameras immediately, just like they did with the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills when we were so focused on Erica and how she was picking up the pieces with Tom Girardi. Like, I think we should pick up the cameras, see Ariana living like her high life, see Daniel Way like on our screens, see how Tom and Raquel are navigating this. I get exactly what he wants to see, but I think from producer standpoints, they're like, it's going to be a shit show to try to film with everyone. So we need to give everyone a little bit of a break. But what do you want as a fan?
I mean, I want the same thing that you guys want. I want the cameras. Like, if it were up to me, we would have them like Big Brother style, like 24/7 recording in a house. Obviously, Ariana and Tom would be in separate houses. But I think they need to pick back up the cameras and, try to get what's going down on camera. But unfortunately, it's kind of like a New Jersey situation. They're going to have to figure out how to film with Tom and maybe Raquel and Ariana, because obviously they're not going to be filming together. They're going to be doing separate scenes. So I think that's going to require a lot of figuring out. And I was actually at Andy's book signing event last night in LA, and he did talk a little bit about this. Basically, number one, don't ask Andy what's happening with Vanderpump Rules because he doesn't know. Number two, he did say that nothing has been figured out yet, that they really need to, look at the situation and figure it out. But he said that they will figure it out. It's just going to take some time. And I think that's probably why they're going to go on pause.
And also, to be fair, like, I get that he's no longer like an executive producer, but when they say that they have a lot to figure out, we've seen this with Roni. Now we have Real Housewives of New Jersey also taking a pause. We had Beverly Hills where they had to figure out, okay, well, Lisa Rinna sent sort of like an exit text message to him after the reunion. So I feel like they're constantly in a position to try to figure it out. But going into the new season with what Jax Taylor recently said and him and Brittany being on Peacock's Watch series, he said, I'm still friends with Tom Schwartz. The business is not doing amazing. And I keep telling Tom, if you want to continue on with everything that you have going on, you have to cut the dead weight. You have to cut Sandoval, which gives him someone to film with. If Jax and Brittany come back like they keep alluding to on Lala's podcast or anywhere else on TV, it gives Tom Schwartz a person to film with. But do you think we would do that? Would we invite old people back to the cast?
You are so right about giving Schwartz a person to film with, because he's also somebody that not a lot of people want to associate with right now. And I definitely think that Jax and Brittany would be perfect to come back. I mean, we saw Kristen Doute's return, iconic. She is so relevant to the situation. And I feel like Jax has a lot to say about this. If you watch seasons past of Vanderpump Rules, he honestly has kind of been right about Sandoval all along. And, we know he's on this press tour talking a lot about it, on his podcast and everything. And I think he would bring a lot to the show and bring the drama. I'm all about them returning.
Yeah. And I also think that when he knew all along about Tom Sandoval, like you said, I think that it was almost like something that was eating at Jax. Like, he understood that he stepped into the character on reality TV of being like that villain, and he had to completely own that because he was a little bit more upfront with it. But I think that there were moments where Tom Sandoval was like, dude, and being so like high and mighty that Jax was like, wait a minute, bro. The fans might not know. I know. Like, I'm your best friend. I know that you're just as shitty of a person as I am.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy to think that, like, the ebbs and the flows of these characters, like one season, they're the number one guy in the group, and the next season they are falling from grace. So the fact that Jax is back, on top, and I wouldn't say number one. James Kennedy is my number one currently.
Oh my gosh. With everyone. You're not the only one, Kim. Everybody is James Kennedy, number one.
Yep.
Did you pause on me? Kim, you might have paused on me a little bit. Hold on. All right, guys, I'm dropping Kim down for 2 seconds. I think that she paused on me, but Kim, if you can hear me, just go ahead and exit and enter back into the chat. But James Kennedy technically is the number one. Here she is, right here. Hi, Kim. Can you hear me?
Sorry.
I think it might just take a second. Norma said, Adam, did you pause Kim for liking James? No, I love James, guys. I would never pause Kim for liking James. All right, we're going to let Kim get that situated, and she'll be back on in like 2 seconds. But what I wanted to say about this too was, if you guys are watching right now with all, oh, here's Kim. Hi, Kim.
Sorry about that, Adam. I'm back.
Oh, no, you're fine. No, you're fine. You're fine. You're totally fine. What I was going to say to you is, I thought it was interesting with you picking James Kennedy as the main person, because it's kind of come down to that, which we never would have thought. But since you said that, yesterday I did a recap with Dave Neal, who primarily covers Bachelor content, and he absolutely kills it. And he said he didn't use these words, but a little disappointed in the moment where James could have kind of been the bigger person. Because, like if you're rooting for someone, you want to see those positive attributes in them. And you want to see them as like, kind of like, okay, we've seen them in their hard time, but we see growth to justify why you're making them the number one person. And for him, he felt like in that moment of calling Raquel, instead of being like haha, you're so stupid. How smart do you feel now? You lost all your friends, girl. And you screwed a 40-year-old cocky cock, which is what he said. He could have been a little bit more delicate with that. But how do you feel?
That's just not James Kennedy. That is not his persona. I don't think it ever will be. It's not what we expect from him. We expect the poo-poo head. We expect the worm with the mustache. That's why we love him and love watching him. So I wouldn't really expect him to, go high. I expect him to go low. And that's kind of why I love him. He tells it like it is. And honestly, he knows Raquel better than anybody else on this show. Let's be real. They were engaged for 5 years. So I think that he, calling her is just going to let it all out. She broke off the engagement. He is just, ready to just read her the riot act and not hold back.
Right. Right. And no, I mean, I get that. I didn't really think about it that way. But yeah, this is sort of James Kennedy. Yeah, what do you want us to do? This is him.
I think he has a lot of pent up anger, you know what I mean, about the whole situation. So like he's just going right in.
He's not really wavered. You're right about that. It's always been the same James.
Yep. Huh. And that's why I love him.
Okay, so before I move on to the Randall Emmett of it all, Tom Sandoval and Raquel, sources leaking on the same day of the finale that they have broken up and decided not to move forward as a couple, which I found to be interesting only because when we had the leaked finale trailer come out, I was on vacation, but during that morning I was having coffee and I saw where everyone was talking about a post from Raquel. And on that post, it was on her Instagram stories and it was like, hey guys, my account was hacked. Just to remind you, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And then boom, 3 hours later, we get a leaked finale trailer. And the finale trailer showed her kind of giggling with Tom and like, this is not how we thought it was going to happen. And then from there, I'm like, this is odd timing. But then on the same day that the finale is coming out, now sources are saying that you guys broke up. It seems a little like damage control.
Oh, for sure. And So first off, about that story, announcing Mental Health Awareness Month, have we seen an entire post, or like any posts on her account about Mental Health Awareness Month? No. So they really dropped the ball on that. Not that we would, want to see that anyway. Second of all, I think that it is definitely not a coincidence. As we know, Raquel has this crisis PR team and they are trying to save face. I think, they knew that the finale was coming out. They knew that they were going to be portrayed in a really bad light. So they had, something come out and kind of try to distance Raquel. It's coming from Raquel's camp. Raquel is saying that, or I dipped out, or somebody is saying that she dipped out. And she says that Tom is not the one for me anymore. So I think they're trying to distance Raquel from the situation before, it really explodes, because the finale is obviously when it all came to a head, and the reunion is probably not going to be a good look for Raquel. So they're trying to get ahead of it. But we heard Ariana doesn't really think they're broken up because of the letter that they received at the house. So
But wouldn't you think that that would be part of like one of those 2-step, 3-step, 4-step programs where she writes a letter to sort of be like, look, Tom, I thought about being with you and I thought it was great. And then I realized that you're a narcissist with a fat ego. So instead, I'm deciding to cut my ties and focus on myself and come back and film without your ass. But not only without you, without everybody, because nobody will film with her.
that's true. I mean, I want to know what's in that letter. It's a really good chance that that is what's in the letter, but I don't know. Will we ever find out? I don't know. But I don't know. Do you think that they should? What are your thoughts on them staying together or splitting? I mean, they've totally blown their lives up to be in this situation. Do you think that, they should give it a try, or do you think that it's worthless and they're better off separate?
I think two things. I always love to play devil's advocate and I try to understand all perspectives. But one side, I think it would be great to see you two try to work this out, because I think that you blew up your lives over it. And I think that it would show the viewers, okay, man, there's like a true love here. We really, really appreciate each other. We understand each other in a way that I didn't have in my other relationship. I just navigated that other relationship very horribly. And it could be a way to redeem themselves in the eyes of the fans slowly. I don't think it would happen overnight. But then on the other side, I think with them broken up, it just sort of looks like, okay, we were reckless. Like we destroyed a lot of these friendships, a lot of these relationships, all to be selfish, hook up with each other because there was this element of excitement behind it. But now that the element of excitement is gone and we don't get to sneak around anymore, what's the point of doing this? Like, even watching the finale where Raquel looks at Tom and she's like, when you can say that you love someone as much as you did Ariana, how do I know that you wouldn't do that to me? And I thought in my head, I'm like, girl, don't you think that this is a 7 months, 8, however many months later, close to a year, it's a little bit late to try to figure out, well, okay, if he's capable of this, why wouldn't he do it to me? So that just makes me see that she's constantly contradicting herself, because she also said in that same scene, we always said we wouldn't do it if it wasn't worth it. Well, what was worth it? Because if you're not coming out of this with a peace of mind in a relationship that you thought, you know what, it was unfortunately navigated the wrong way, but I know that this is my man, this is who I'm supposed to be with. If that's not your end all be all, then what was the point of just screwing over your best friend, the only person at the time, aside from Sheena, that would film with you, that would welcome you onto the show, that gave you a place to stay for the holidays, that gave you a place to stay when you had nowhere else to go? Like, why else would you just ruin that?
Exactly. I think that it's like she wasn't thinking at all when they started this. Like there were no thoughts going through her brain whatsoever. And now that it's all come out, it's like she's finally realizing the gravity of it. But girl, you had 7 months to realize what you were doing. And I don't know. I don't feel bad for her whatsoever. This breakup actually makes me question Raquel's future on the show, because Tom is linked to the show. He's an OG. He has Schwartz and Sandy's Tom and Schwartz and everything. But without Tom Sandoval, Raquel has nothing. So that makes me question whether she will be returning because it just won't make sense without her and Tom together.
Was this social climbing for Raquel, you think? Like to make herself the number one girl in the group?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you see it. She started with James, then it was Schwartz, and now it's Sandoval. I mean, it's so clear. That's the perfect way to describe it.
Okay. And then before we move on to the Randall Emmett of it all, are you hoping to see Ariana's new man, Daniel, on the show?
I would love to see it. I mean, I just want to see Ariana happy. She says she's super happy, she's satisfied. And I would love to get to know him better. Of course, we are all rooting for Ariana. We want what's best for her. And if this man is it, I'd love to see it. And I think all of her fans would too, just to get to know him a little better and make sure, he's the right person for her.
Okay, so we'll give it. You want us as the fans to be able to assess put the relationship in front of the camera so we can pick it apart.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I just want what's best for her, and whether it's a rebound, fling, or, something real, either way, that's fine. I just want to make sure that he is a good guy. And, a lot of the cast members have said he is. So I guess that's all we have to go on right now, but I'm happy for her either way.
Okay, this would have been the perfect segue into my New Jersey sort of segment of this. But before we get to that, I did want to ask you, now we know that Hulu is coming out with the Randall scandal, which is sort of a play on Housewife and the Hustler and the Housewife and the Shaw Shocker. There have been many documentaries and it's now becoming a trend. But Randall Emmett has this documentary coming out about how he was in 30 plus lawsuits, about how he was mistreating assistants, co-workers, workers, answering doors naked, having certain illegal substances in the room, or having his assistants get the illegal substances, having a casting couch where he was allegedly getting girls to do things that they shouldn't be doing in order to get a role. Like, all of these things are now coming out in this Randall scandal. And Randall said that this is a vindictive hit piece, that this is not true. The people who are coming out with all of these allegations are people that have a vendetta against him. However, if you ask the majority of the people who have worked with or for him, that you won't get these same answers. But LA Times did respond, and they're like, Randall Emmett, if you think that our journalism is not spot on, by all means, we would love to have a conversation. We have checked our sources, cited our sources. We've done over X amount of interviews. We put all of the hours into it. So please, if you want a seat at the table, here it is.
Yeah, I mean, this is ABC News, guys. This isn't just some, random gossip column or, website. This is ABC News putting this out. And they're not just going to put out allegations if they're not justified. And if we think back to the Shaw Shocker and the Housewife and the Hustler, pretty much all of that was true. There wasn't, there wasn't a lot of claims that this was false, or, pretty much everything that was included on those is true. And, there are a lot of people coming out against Randall. So, I mean, there's just, there's power in numbers. And I don't know. Personally, I believe every single one of them. I mean, justice for Lala, and justice for, her kids and everything like that. Her stepdaughters and Randall's ex. I want them to feel vindicated because, he's done a lot of crazy stuff, terrible stuff. And, Lala is in this custody battle with him right now, which is insane to me to think that somebody like Randall could potentially get custody of his child over Lala is insane. So I hope this shines a spotlight and, proves that Randall is, I don't know how good of a dad he is, but obviously these other allegations are very, very, troublesome, and you wouldn't want somebody like that around your kids. So I just hope this shines a spotlight on who he really is.
Do you think, well, and part of me kind of thinks, without knowing the full story, because I haven't seen the documentary, I read the LA Times article, but part of me wonders, can you be like some of like the biggest mafia members were really bad people in the street who were doing really awful things, but when you came home to the family, you don't mess with the family. So part of me wonders, like, were you just such a great dad at home, and then when it came to like work life and trying to keep yourself relevant, that you were just making really poor decisions? But also another part of me that saw Lala, her brother, and her mother in the documentary, I was like, you guys are Lala, you are making sure you get full custody right now, girl. That is so apparent.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I do like to give people the benefit of the doubt, like like I like to see the good in people and think that they're not all monsters. But I mean, this is just going way beyond, like it's not just like a Tom Sandoval thing. He had an affair. Yes, that's terrible. And I hate him for it. But, the level that Randall's scandal is and has become, and the inappropriate acts of it all, I think are not good, to have somebody's daughter around somebody that would do that. So I think it's just, I don't know. I hope it affects the custody battle because Lala deserves full custody.
You know what's so funny too, Kim, is when Bravo wants to feature your channel, your podcast, a video clip, no matter whatever they want to feature, they always have to ask your permission. So I was asked a while back for for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and it was a Kathy Hilton story that I did not agree to put a clip on. And then later I was like, oh man, I hope I didn't just like screw myself with the network moving forward where they never asked me again. And then for Vanderpump Rules, before the season aired, I got a message and they said, hey, we wanted to use a clip of you speaking about the Randall LA Times article. Well, I think it was 2 weeks before the clip was supposed to air, boom, cue Scandival. Scandival happens. And I thought to myself, well, it would have been so cool to have our channel featured this year on Vanderpump Rules. However, I totally see, like, Randall, you lucked out. Sandoval being a douchebag, it took so much attention off of the Randall scandal, which you didn't luck out for long. Because let's be clear, like, now it's almost genius. We're going to wait until the first part of the reunion. First part of the reunion, it's going to sort of bleed into June. But at that time, the Randall scandal is going to be playing all over Hulu, all over Page Six. Your time is coming.
Oh, his time is so coming. Like, we think that Sandoval is bad. I said it once, I'll say it again. Randall is so much worse. The gravity of the situation is 100 times as bad. So, let's shift the focus. Not forget about what Tom Sandoval did, but make sure that Randall, gets his time and, he gets what's coming to him.
Do you think, now I want to pull this over to Kim Zolciak for a second, because in this custody battle, because it's not quite a divorce, they separated. Thank God they didn't get married. But in this custody battle, Lala is trying to make it to where the court drug tests Randall in order to be around their kids, right? So now we see that Kim Zolciak and Croy both filed for divorce within hours of each other. It's like they pulled a page out of Drew Sidora's book, and they filed within hours of each other after everything came out about the $1.1 million IRS situation. But now it came out that Kim Zolciak feels Croy might smoke a little too much marijuana. But those are allegations. Like, we don't know. I'm not sitting there smoking with Croy. I don't know what he does. But she's using this as I want him drug tested. I want to do a follicle test where they test his hair to make sure that he is not doing these things. And I want this to be a part of the custody situation. Part of me thinks, though, there are not many people. I know a lot of people. There are not many people. I know a lot of people. Who the f are you, Adam? There are not many people who I know wherever they live that don't just like dabble in like having a couple cocktails or hitting their little pen or anything like that. So this wouldn't be like the most shocking to me, but it almost felt like, is this a ploy for you to make sure you get custody? Because you know, in the state of Georgia, that it's technically not legal. It's not like California, because in California, you can walk in any store you want, have a driver's license showing that you're 18 or older, and you don't need anything. But in Georgia, it's a little bit different. Is this a clever ploy, or you think there's genuine concern?
I think you hit it on the nail, Adam. I think Lala is, drug testing Randall for harder drugs than marijuana. Let's be real. I think that Kim trying to drug test Croy and saying that she's worried for her kids, well-being because of the amount of pot he smokes is definitely a reach. I think that this divorce is only going to get messier and messier. I think that it is definitely a ploy to try to get custody. I think that they are going to battle it out and do whatever they can. It's like they're digging up whatever, in these messy divorces, you line item every single bad thing that they've ever done to try to sway the court's decision. And I think that's exactly what she's doing. And I think that the marijuana smoking is a little bit of a reach. I'm not sure that is a sole reason for him to not have custody. I don't know. It's really, really rough. I think this is all just financially based. I think it has a lot to do with money, not a lot to do with anything else. And I think that she's trying to save face so she can get the kids, he can pay her alimony and child support, and she can move on.
Kim Zolciak, clever girl. Very clever. Do you think because of this and this now new divorce, well, I guess I have two more questions before we wrap this part up. Do you think when the money got going, so did Kim?
Like going in the sense of like, I'm out.
Like the money's gone.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think, let's be real, their financial situation has always been questionable. The house they live in, Croy is no longer playing in the NBA. They have these side businesses. She has the skincare and the bathing suits and everything, but surely that cannot be supporting a family of how many are there now? Like 8 or, it's, yeah.
Yeah,
So
there's 8 of
it's
them.
just, yeah. So it's always been questionable. And I think that they have been running dry for a while. We've seen, they've had financial issues and Kim has that gambling addiction that we saw firsthand on Don't Be Tardy, the road trip. So it's, yep, the gambling problem, I think maybe has a lot to do with it. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out because he could use that against her too. That's not a good way to, spend your money when you're trying to support a family. So I don't know. I also saw that I guess Croy's name is on every one of her businesses. So where does that come into play? It's messy.
Girl, you set yourself up for failure. Well, that leads me to my next question is if the money got going, we owe the IRS. We're trying to figure out how the hell we're going to maintain our lifestyle. We're eBaying items out of our closet. Are we returning to the Real Housewives of Atlanta?
It might be the only way that Kim can, continue to live the lifestyle that she lives. I would love it. I would love to see a Kim Zolciak return. We've gotten little bits and pieces of her throughout the years. I loved Don't Be Tardy until the last season. It kind of fizzled out. But Kim, definitely makes great TV. And her returning to the show to put this all on display, I think would be an amazing idea. Bravo, Andy. Consider it because I think that it's a genius idea. What are your thoughts?
I mean, honestly, I think that Kim Zolciak coming back as a single woman where that Kenya is not going to hold back. Kenya is going to be like, where is your man and his $30 million, paycheck now, Octomom? You know what I mean? In my perfect world, I never want to name someone to be fired. I can probably name 2 that could go. And I would say this. I would say keep Candy, keep She by Sheree, keep Marlo Hampton, keep Kenya Moore, bring in Portia, bring in Kim Zolciak, Drew Sidora is best friends with Portia, so that would be good. And we get to watch her navigate her divorce as well. Sonia, you got to work hard, girl. You got to work hard because I could see a dynamic as hell cast right now.
I know. I think we need that Kim Zolciak. I am with you 100%. That is like my dream, Atlanta lineup. I don't think we're ever going to get Nene back, as hard as we wish and pray. It's not happening. But Portia and Kim coming back, chef's kiss. That would be perfect. I think, Drew, I would have normally said I could do without, but I need to see the Ralph and Drew divorce play out. I need to see that. Sonia, you definitely need to step up your game. Hopefully she will this season. I have hope for her, but we'll see.
I do too. I have hope for her. I think that it's a sophomore season. We have to give her a second.
Yeah, agreed.
So we'll give you a second there, Sonia. But okay, so my segue earlier, and I totally forgot what the segue point was, but it was from Vanderpump Rules over to the Real Housewives of New Jersey. And this season on the Real Housewives of New Jersey, the only thing that gave them a break was the same, well, I guess grace that Randall got, which would be the scandal of it all. Otherwise, we would have all just been so in our screens with Jersey. Now, for Jersey, we have Teresa and the whole wedding coming up, but there have been so many red flags that have come out, like this alleged investigation into Luis' businesses, but then also Louis on the finale episode turning red. Like literally, he looked like, where do I have a photo? Yes, I do.
Oh my gosh.
He looked like a little bit of a joker, like a clown, and he's just ripping into everyone. I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts so far before we get into the details? What are your thoughts so far on Jersey and this relationship between Teresa and Louis?
Oh gosh. It's so tough for me to figure out who is the bad guy here. Between Joe and Melissa and Teresa and Louis. Obviously, there are a lot of red flags with Louis. But we've had these really, nice scenes, these heart to hearts where he wants to make it work between, her and her family, her being Teresa. Were those just put on for the camera? I don't know. Were these past couple episodes him, showing his true colors or, color as we're seeing right now? Like maybe. Is this like the evil that he really is, like digging up dirt on everybody, hiring private investigators, like shutting Joe and Melissa out of Teresa's life? I don't know. It's really tough to say just because the only reason I'm not 100% turning on Louis yet is because Teresa and Melissa and Joe have had problems for a decade,
right?
Well before Louis was in the picture. So I know Louis is probably not helping. I don't know if he's hurting the situation, but I don't know. It's really, really tough for me to choose sides. I'm hoping that the reunion will shed some light.
Well, but then also we had in this past finale episode where he said something to the effect of, and I know I have a photo here, that he hired P.I. Bo Dietl. And Bo Dietl, I believe I'm saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
Bo Dietl?
Yeah.
Bo Dietl came out and said, I'm appalled. First of all, I wouldn't have the reputation that I had if I had clients going out there sharing that we work together. That just wouldn't happen. And no, we have never been associated. But this was a moment where you blatantly got caught in a lie. But then on Watch What Happens Live after the finale, Teresa's like, no, that didn't happen. No, he was just, upset, whatever. And it came into his head. And it seemed like she was trying to get ahead of it, like damage control. Cause she's like, you don't understand. When it's on reality TV, it's going to come out. So you said that and you wanted to throw like pasta at the wall to see what was going to stick, or the skinny girl pizza oven at the wall to see what was going to stick. And it didn't stick, Louis. So we got to get ahead of it.
Yeah, so Andy actually had something to say about this last night at the LA event. I think an audience member asked him about this, and he pointed out an interesting piece of the puzzle because Bo Dietl did come out and deny the allegations, but Andy was saying about the terminology he used. He said he wasn't hired by Louis or Teresa. Andy seemed very, like kind of laser focused on that word hired, meaning that maybe he's just, a friend, a family friend, or knows somebody who knows somebody who knows Louis. And it kind of just like got out on its own. So Andy thinks there still might be something there. I'm not putting it past him. I believe Andy, he's our boots on the ground. He was with Teresa, and he hears stuff obviously that we don't. So I'm going to think that there might still be something there. I'm not putting this Bo Dietl, private investigator story to rest just yet.
Okay. All right. Well, speaking of putting stories to rest, Caroline Manzo recently did Page Six's virtual reality, and that came out today, where she did the Mother's Day episode with them. And when she did, she said, I didn't call the FBI on Teresa Giudice and Joe Giudice, but I know who did. And I thought in my mind, I'm like, you wonder why this woman does not like you? Like, I didn't call them. I didn't call the person, but I know who destroyed your entire family, which technically was Joe. Joe destroyed the family. It's all on him. Like, you can't give blame to someone else. However, at the end of the day, if you know who called the FBI, it kind of affiliates you with that rat syndrome of the word that we're trying to avoid on the Real Housewives of New Jersey, because it's like, but you didn't do it. But your hands aren't so clean. It's like you dip them in the murky water and you're like, get it off.
I know, like for somebody who's trying to like distance themselves from the housewives after the whole Brandy fiasco on Ultimate Girls Trip, this is a line to, to share with the public that who called the FBI, like bringing this back up after, years and years of denying you had anything to do with it or knew about it or whatever. But honestly, it doesn't surprise me. Jersey seems like a small town. There are a lot of like family connections here. Obviously, there's, a lot going on. So I think that, when did this happen? Teresa maybe went to prison, I don't know, 6-7 years ago now.
Yeah.
I think that it's had to have come out by now who leaked the information. So it's not surprising that Caroline knows. It's surprising to me that she's going to bring that up and, like you said, dig herself back into a hole, because Teresa is not going to let this go. And Caroline's just going to become, the center of the drama again, which I thought she wanted nothing to do with. She was never going to be back on the show again. So I don't know, Caroline, it's reading a little thirsty.
Well, especially if you right now, like Andy Cohen just recently said in his book, his new book, The Daddy Diaries, that Caroline was offered a paycheck, that they couldn't come to an agreement with what the money part of that would be of that contract. So she wasn't able to make it. But then he also said he had a conversation with Teresa, and she at first seemed very receptive to the idea of Caroline coming back. And it was when he told Teresa, I will not be officiating your wedding, that Teresa was like, by the way, no, I'm not filming with her. That's not happening. And so he almost made it seem like it was like she was retaliating a little bit because of the fact that he was not officiating the wedding. But at the end of the day, I know that Kim D did David Yontif's podcast. And what Kim D said was, when Jacqueline Larita and Teresa Giudice came together in Vegas, Jacqueline dropped a bomb that Joe Gorga was a part. So Teresa's brother was a part of reporting them to the FBI, which would be massive.
Massive. I mean, I don't know, the contention there, I wouldn't put it past him. We saw on one of the episodes that Joe Giudice actually called Louis to warn him about the Gorgas, going into this. And to me, that was a red flag, because Joe Giudice and Louis should have really nothing. Joe Giudice should want nothing to do with Louis. Obviously, he's the new man in Teresa's life. I'm sure he's happy for her. But the fact that he called them up to warn them about the Gorgas is a red flag for me. And I don't know, Joe has always had it out for them. I don't know. I honestly, it's really, really tough to say, because I want to say I wouldn't put it past Joe Gorga to do this, but family, 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 they're all about family. So would he really do this in the midst of, I don't know, the chaos going on? I don't know.
Well, and to be fair, on top of this, Caroline also said on Page Six's virtual reality that Teresa wouldn't step away from the franchise because she is so fame hungry. But in the Daddy Diaries book, he details that after a reunion, it was like 1 or 2 reunions ago, he had a conversation with her and she was just crocodile tears. She looked like she was exhausted with the show. And he was like, honestly, I didn't know at that point had this storyline for Teresa come to an end. And Teresa ended up texting him a few days or a few weeks later saying, no, I'm fully invested 100%. I want to be back on the show. With that, after this season, fans were really kind of divided as to how do we move forward? Like, we have all of these other franchises being put on hold because people can't get together. And Teresa and the Gorgas are obviously, I mean, they classify under that group of people who we don't see how the hell you guys are going to come together and film a scene. Could you see Teresa stepping away from the show, or is there too much ego and pride with her being the last standing OG?
You know, I'm not sure if it's the ego and pride on Teresa's side. The way I see it is she is New Jersey. I don't think there is a show without her. I'm not saying I want Melissa to leave, but I think I can definitely see a future with just Teresa more than just Melissa. I think that Teresa has made this show what it is today. I think she is the, New Jersey legacy, to put it in New York terms, so I don't think it's an ego or a pride thing. I think that this is her career. She is a career housewife. And so this is how she supports her family and does what she does. So I think it's less about an ego or pride thing. She's been on our TV screen for like nearly a decade or over a decade at this point. So I think it is who she is. It's ingrained in her. And so I don't see a show without her.
Do you think Louis could be our next scandal?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. If Scandival has taught us anything, where there's smoke, there's fire. I say that a lot now. Sometimes these rumors don't come to fruition, but I think that there are a lot of questionable things about Louis that have come out, and it doesn't seem to be stopping. Like it started with that weird video on the beach with all the guys, and him at his retreat, and that was really, really strange to watch. But the allegations coming out now about his business are like also, equally as disturbing. So it's totally possible. What do you think?
I mean, I think I love that phrase, where there's smoke, there's fire. I always feel that. And just like last finale, when we saw Joe Gorga speaking to Louis, when Louis was asking for Teresa's hand in marriage, Joe Gorga brought up the fact that there were multiple women coming forward. And Louis just kind of dismissed that, saying that they're all jealous because of Teresa. And he's like, no, it's not just 1 or 2, man. It's a few. And I fully agree that when there's a few, that gives you cause for pause. But then watching him on the season, I completely understand where Melissa's coming from when she says, it seems like there's 2 versions of this man. One who wants to be like, here, man, take the pillow. It's your time to talk because we're all about love and communication and openness so we can all be better versions of ourselves. And then the other version all of a sudden comes out and it's like, who wants to go at it? I'm about to rip everybody's head off. I got Bo Dietl on the line and I'm about to shit up. And it's like, wait a minute, this is a little bit of whiplash here, friend. Like, which one are you? And I even saw where Teresa said on Watch What Happens Live, she's like, I've never seen that side of him. And it's kind of a little bit more scary for people watching because they have seen that side. That was the segue earlier that I forgot about, was you were saying we want to assess the relationship of Ariana and Daniel because we haven't seen them together yet. And as fans, we're so invested in her storyline. People were so invested in Teresa's storyline too. When I had her on for an interview, I told her this, and she said, listen, I am a big girl. I'm a grown woman, and I know what's best for me. You guys see a sneak peek into my life through a window. You guys don't see the whole picture. And I got that But then I was like, if we're seeing a small sneak peek, and this is included in the sneak peek where your husband is having these massive reactions and flipping his shit, that's a little concerning.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. To kind of quote Lala, sometimes when you're like too close to the situation, you don't see it. It takes an outsider to see what's going on. And, I think that's kind of what these other ladies are seeing. Now, this is me playing devil's advocate. If I had to deal with the drama and all of the issues surrounding Joe and Melissa, I would blow up too. I would probably try not to do it on camera because that was not a good look. But I think maybe it's possible he just had it up to here and, just needed to blow off some steam. Teresa's flipped a table last season. She was throwing drinks at Marge. So people lose their cool. We've seen it a lot on Housewives and on Bravo, but I don't know. I think the jury's still out on Louis for me. It's not good that these headlines keep coming out. And I don't know, the way he acted was concerning, but I'm not going to turn on him just yet because I really do hope that Teresa does know what she's doing and know what's best for her. And the girls have a good head on their shoulders. Gia, if they like Louis and trust Louis, then that makes me feel a little bit better. Because they are, kind of the voice of reason in the whole situation.
Right. Okay. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt right now.
That's my take on it. I know other people might disagree, but we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see. Guys, we'll see. Okay, Kim, before we end up letting you go, I just wanted to ask you one last question. We also had Ramona Singer on Page Six's virtual reality. And when she was talking about the casting for the new season, saying that she doesn't even remember Kristen, who was a part of season 6 and 7. But of course, it's Ramona. She has no idea what's going on half the time. That is not a diss. I mean, if it doesn't have to do with Ramona, she has no clue who you are or what you're doing. I ran into her at BravoCon, actually, and I went to go walk in the men's bathroom at Andy's Legends Ball. And she was walking out of the bathroom. The door was locked. And I was like, oh, shit, somebody's in there. Okay. And she walks out of the bathroom and she's like adjusting herself. And she's like this. And I'm like, girl, hi. And she's like, oh, it's open for you. And I was waiting for the bathroom with James Kennedy. So I'm like sitting there waiting. And here she comes. And she was just like did not care. And now I'm not surprised that this carried over into this live appearance where she's like, I don't know who this woman is. I would have rather had Aviva Drescher, but okay, here we are.
Yeah, I mean, it's giving Mariah Carey. I don't know her. I mean, that is definitely Ramona's persona. But honestly, I'm with Ramona. Kristen, what are you doing on Roni Legacy? I do not see Kristen as a legacy housewife. This cast is supposed to be kind of, from the early seasons, the OGs. We're bringing Scary Island back. And Kristen was not a part of that. Was she on more than one season? I don't remember. 2 seasons. It's not bringing legacy vibes for me. I don't think that Kristen, I think they should have just kept it at 5. I don't think we needed to replace
filler.
Jill Zarin. Just move on without Jill, without Kristen. I mean, I agree with Ramona. I would have chosen Aviva for sure.
I think after Jill fought for so long too to be back on the show and then decided not to because the pay scale was not the same based off of the ladies' fans, their social media followings, how long they've been on their own respective shows. I know that Jill was going into it like, this is a new show. We should have equal pay. But I think that she should have just held out, made herself a prominent role, made herself like unreplaceable or irreplaceable. And had she have made herself irreplaceable, it would have been such a good thing for her because this is a woman who has been texting Andy and fighting for so long to get back on Housewives. It's like, how the hell? You have all the money in the world, girl. You still have Zarin Ruggs. You still have your penthouse. You have your Upper East Side apartment. You have your Hamptons home. You're driving your Rolls Royce. who gives a shit about the money? This gives you everything that you want. You'll get the money. Just hold out for it. Or no?
I know. I was ready to see, I needed to see Jill versus Dorinda 2.0 that we saw on Ultimate
Yes.
Girls Trip at Bluestone Manor. Like I was ready to see that, revival, but we didn't get it. And instead we got Kristen. I don't know. It should be interesting because, we had the iconic glass throw from the canoe, from Ramona to Kristen. And that was a moment I'll never forget in Housewives history. So there is a feud there already. And of course, we would expect nothing less from Ramona than to already start the drama before the trip has even begun.
Right. I agree. Well, Kim, if they don't know, will you let them know? Can I just share with them again really quick where we can find you on all socials? By the way, guys, Bravo breaking news. Kim does not disappoint. She literally has everything that you want to follow. It is right here.
Thank you so much, Adam. Yeah, I'm just at Bravo Breaking News on Instagram. You can also find us on YouTube at Bravo Breaking News. Me and my co-host Lisa, we do Vanderpump Rules recaps, and we will be continuing, I think, with Orange County. So make sure you check us out there. And yeah, thanks so much for having me, Adam. This has been a blast.
My God, no, I just wanted to make sure that I bring up both too. I wanted to share that as well. So guys, make sure you follow on Instagram, but also on YouTube. Here we go. Bravo Breaking News. We have 8.27 thousand subscribers. Guys, we have a lot of people in the room. I think we can get up to 10,000 subscribers. Let's get the job done. Kim, this has been so great, and we would absolutely love to have you back in the future.
Oh, of course, Adam. I'd love to have you on my show too. I mean, you are a Bravo connoisseur, historian, expert. I love watching you. I learned so much from you. So I just want to say thank you for your service.
Oh my God. You make me feel like I'm a part of the military or something, but no, thank you. Honestly, Kim, this has been so great. It's been so much fun. And it's always fun to talk to someone who knows what they're talking about. So you are the best. I'm sending you all the positive energy and the love, and just keep growing the hell out of these channels because you got this.
You too, Adam. Keep it up.
Thanks, Kim. I'm going to drop you down for 2 seconds and I'll be right back in the waiting room.
Bye, guys.
All right, guys. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to everyone in the live chat. Now, I know that we always do this at the end, but it's so important for you guys who are looking for gifts for anniversaries, birthdays. I know Mother's Day passed, but if you haven't seen your mother yet, go to roseforever.com. Jason and I, our house, they are full of them. The roses last for over a year. It's my favorite accent piece to our house on every single table, everywhere that you go. So go to roseforever.com. And once you make your purchase, right when you get to checkout, use code ADAM25 for $25 off of your purchase. I love you guys so much. We'll be dropping more pre-records throughout the day, and we will see you so very soon. Oh, we're going to Stassi's show tonight in Fort Lauderdale, so we will be posting a vlog at some point. That's up to Jason.